Pokémon, the most successful media franchise on the planet, beating out the likes of Harry Potter, Star Wars, and the entire Marvel MCU. The amount of total revenue Pokémon has brought in absolutely towers head and shoulders over anything else on the global scale. This media juggernaut since 1996 has amassed a gross revenue of over $150 billion. And what is the basis for this enormously successful franchise? The heart and soul that keeps the Pokémon engine chugging along. It's the games. As stated by the Pokémon Company on their corporate website, we produce the video games from which all Pokémon content originates. With the games being so important and integral to the Pokémon identity, you'd assume that with a huge financial backing, these games would be cutting edge, setting the standard for all other games within the same genre. But that's not what we see. The Pokémon Company has struggled to keep pace with games that have come out even 10 years prior. To make matters worse, the Pokémon Company has had no issue with releasing batch after batch of unfinished, unpolished, buggy messes of games, and then raking in a profit from a dedicated fanbase. So with a massive financial backing and a passionate fanbase, why isn't Pokémon leading the pack in terms of quality and innovation? It's simple. Pokémon is actually too successful. I've followed this franchise basically ever since I had the ability to read. I have the cards, the toys, VHS tapes, DVDs, posters, and the games. So many games. I've owned Pokémon Yellow, Gold, Silver, and Crystal, Pokémon Snap, Hey You Pikachu, Pokémon Stadium, Pokémon Sapphire, Ruby, Emerald, Fire Red and Leaf Green. I've owned Pokémon Diamond, Platinum, Pokémon Dash, Pokémon Coliseum, Pokémon Channel, Pokémon Box, Pokémon Black, Black 2, X, Sword, Sun, Legends Arceus, Brilliant Diamond, and Pokémon Scarlet. Even with my nostalgia-tinted glasses, Pokémon was never known for their cutting-edge technology. From the very first games, it was very clear that Game Freak was struggling quite a bit with their programming and quality control aspects. Which on one hand I can understand, making games is hard. And to give them credit, while they were never at the level of their peers, the more they worked with a specific hardware, the better they got. For example, Black and White had a lot of polish and really showed what Game Freak was capable of with enough experience developing for a specific system. The cracks first began to show with the jump from the DS to the 3DS. The quality of the games lagged behind other games running on the exact same hardware. Games from wildly less successful franchises. It seems strange, right? How could so much success lead to worse quality games? We'll get into that in just a minute. With as massive as the Pokémon franchise is, chances are most people watching this video have played at least one Pokémon game. Which one was your first and which one was your favorite? Pause the video and drop a comment down below. My first was actually Pokémon Silver, and I've had a soft spot for Johto ever since. So with an enormous financial backing and fans of all ages worldwide, why aren't the games living up to their potential? Lots of people will call Game Freak lazy, and at a first glance, this would make sense, right? Game Freak makes Pokémon. The games are obviously being pushed out in an unfinished state, therefore Game Freak is lazy. But I actually want to give them the benefit of the doubt. I don't think the people who have their hands directly on Pokémon are lazy in the least. I truly think they're trying their best with the resources, time, and trading provided to them. At the time of writing, the most recent games are Scarlet and Violet. Looking at them, it's obvious to me that there was a lot of passion and excitement that initially went into them. The music, character designs, ideas for the world, and the plot all indicate to me that there is a team who really want to deliver a fun and engaging Pokémon experience. The people who work on the games are obviously passionate about the series and love Pokémon, but passion isn't enough when you're working under strict time constraints with a small team of undertrained developers with a multi-billion-dollar franchise breathing down your neck. I'd not be surprised if the development team were pushed to release Scarlet and Violet in this incredibly sorry state. Unable to maintain 30 frames, horrible poppin', low quality textures, unpolished animations, and glitches on glitches. To be clear, Pokémon games have always been incredibly poorly optimized. They've been able to scrape by with the low expectations from handheld consoles, but even on the 3DS, the game struggled to maintain their frame rates. These skill gap issues only exploded when the series jumped to the Switch. The Pokemon team, plain and simple, isn't up to the task of making 3D modern games, and it's not their fault. They've not been given the time, the tools, or the knowledge to compete. The solution should be relatively simple. Give the dev team more time to work with, invest in more personnel to lighten the team's workload, and invest in properly training your staff to make games that keep up with a modern level of quality, not 10 years back. I imagine this doesn't happen for a few reasons. First, there's no incentive to. The games still sell. The people who make the important decisions within a company obviously aren't willing to innovate and have no passion or care for the quality of the product they release. It's already successful, so why change? Even if they were inclined to change, Pokemon is an absolute behemoth of a franchise, and lots of planning goes into the coordination of their new products. A new video game, anime, trading card set, and merch all get released at roughly the same time. Delaying the release of games means it doesn't sync up with the release of the rest of their products. Should that take precedence over the quality of their core driving product? Personally, I don't think so, and the years of low-quality releases had negatively affected the Pokemon brand. No one expects Pokemon to release a game with a high standard of quality and polish, and many people have dropped the series because of it. Others will make excuses saying it's a game for kids, or the Switch's hardware isn't good enough, all while ignoring that other game franchises on the exact same hardware rarely have the same issues that plague Pokemon. So what can be done to even fix Pokemon? From a business side, it would make a lot of financial sense to get their games right. The games are the core of the entire Pokemon franchise. Pokemon has immense brand recognition. Nearly everyone has either heard about it, played the games, owned the cards, or watched the anime at one point or another. With that being the case, there's a large, untapped potential of people who have dropped Pokemon but still actively play other games. With a lack of quality control and absence of innovation, there's no incentive for anyone who isn't already invested in a franchise to give it a try. Pokemon needs to release games at a level of quality that can at least compete with modern games in terms of polish. Keep in mind, this is the highest grossing media franchise of all time. Matching the quality of their peers is a very small ask. A good game designed by talented, passionate people will attract new players and keep old players happy and invested. First, and most importantly, the Pokemon Company needs to be willing to invest in their development team. Making games is hard, even more so with a small team that only has experience making one kind of game. New talent with experience in making games other than Pokemon should be brought in, and the development teams already present at Game Freak need substantial training in making games for modern hardware. Other game franchises are able to release finished games. There's no excuse the biggest media franchise in the world can't either. Next, I would decouple the simultaneous release of new Pokemon products. The pressure of needing to release games in sync with an anime and a card game puts an enormous stress on the game team to release within a small window. The inability to push back deadlines leading to the publish of obviously unfinished games and damaging the Pokemon brand as a whole. While this may not be viable, at the very least, the game development team needs a significant head start to account for any potential issues, and to have enough time to optimize and polish the games. Last is to carry over innovations and lessons from previous games in the series. Pokemon has a habit of coming up with an idea or an innovation and then abandoning it by the next game. Small, iterative improvements should have the games constantly progressing in terms of quality, not moving backwards due to development amnesia. It doesn't make sense to basically start from scratch with each new game in a series. These changes will go a long way to rebuilding the Pokemon identity and improving the perceptions revolving around game quality. But as fans, what can we do? From the consumer side, there's really only one thing. If the games don't meet the level of quality and other games of a similar genre and price point, don't buy them. The only thing that matters to the Pokemon Company is their bottom line. With how wildly successful the games are, despite the complete lack of quality, there really is no incentive to invest in their team, to provide a better product, or to do better in general. I'd be really curious to peek in on a world where Pokemon didn't do as well and had to properly try to reach this level of success. If you can't tell, I'm a huge fan of Pokemon and of games as a medium in general. The issues that plague Pokemon aren't unique and actually affect the game industry as a whole, but that's a topic for another video. Anyways, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video enough to make it to the end, you should check out some more of my content.